welcome to the second part of the economic feasibility assessment. In the previous part, you gained a foundational understanding of present worth analysis. Building on that, in this part, we will further explore annual equivalence analysis, an essential technique for comparing the economic viability of projects with different lifespan and the cost structure on an annual basis. Annual equivalence analysis, or called AE analysis, which helps measure the value of investment by spreading out cash flows into equal annual payment. Here's how it works. The AE value is calculated by taking the present worth and applying the capital recovery factors. Such factors adjust the present worth into an equivalent series of annual payment. When you are evaluating a single revenue project, you can use AE to make a decision. Similar to what we have learned for net present worth analysis, if AE is greater than 0, that is a green light to go ahead with the investment. If AE equals 0, it means you are neutral about the investment, and if AE is less than 0, it is time to reject the investment. When comparing the multiple projects, choose the one with the highest AE for revenue project to maximize the return. For service projects, opt for the one with the least annual equivalent cost, ensuring the cost effectiveness. So why annual equivalence or AE analysis is needed? While net present worth, or NPW, gives us a solid snapshot of a project's viability, AE analysis brings another layer to our economic evaluation. This method allows us to look at investments and their returns on an annual basis, which is crucial in many real-world scenarios. Firstly, for life cycle costing, AE is perfect when we need to break down the cost and benefit yearly across a project life, considering all future costs and not just the upfront ones. Secondly, for unit cost calculation, it is particularly useful when we have to determine the cost per unit or profit from using an asset. This could be for projects where we decide whether to make or buy, or even set the rental charge. Thirdly, handling unequal project lives. AE helps when projects don't align perfectly in duration, allowing for consistent financial comparisons. In a sense, AE equips us to handle complex financial planning with a clear, annualized perspective. Usually for the purchase or investment decision, two types of cost will occur: capital cost and operating cost. Now, before we jump into the example problem, let's learn what these two types of costs are and distinguish between them. First, capital cost, which are typically one-time expenditure, involving the initial purchase, denoted as I, and final salvage value of equipment, denoted as S. Here, we introduce a new term called the capital recovery cost, which is derived by converting these capital costs into their annual equivalent over the life of a project. Using the capital recovery factors formula shown here, we can convert these initial and end-of-life cost into a yearly equivalent cost that reflect their value over the project's duration. Second type is operating cost. Operating costs include ongoing expenses such as labor and raw materials, and these typically occur throughout the lifespan of a project. These operating costs can either remain the same or vary year by year. If operating costs remain unchanged, then we do not need to do any special calculation to calculate the equivalent annual operating cost. However, if these costs do fluctuate, adjustments are needed in our calculations using the formula you see on the slide. Basically, you first discount all operating costs over the project life back to their present value at a given interest rate, and then sum them up, which give you the total present worth of operating cost. Next, you use the capital recovery factors, denoted as A over P here, to spread this total cost evenly over the n years. So here, let's explore a practical example involving an investment decision for Company A. The company is evaluating whether to purchase an energy-saving computer workstation. The initial purchase price is $110,000. After the expected 5 years lifespan, it is anticipated to have a salvage value of $10,000. In terms of operating cost, for the first 2 years, each year will incur cost of $20,000. For the subsequent 3 years, the operating cost will increase to $25,000 annually. Given these numbers, we need to determine the minimum annual cost savings necessary for this investment to be considered economically viable. Given the company's required rate of return is 15% per annum. To solve this, we will perform an AE analysis. Start with the capital cost, use the formula for capital recovery. We find the annual equivalent of this capital cost, or called the capital recovery, is about $31,300. Next is operating cost. To find the annual equivalent of this variable operating cost, we first convert each segment of the cost to their present value, and then spread this total present value uniformly over the 5 years at a 50% annual rate. This gives us an annual equivalent operating cost of $22,575. By adding the annualized capital and the operating cost, we arrived at the total annual equivalent cost, which is around $54,000. This is the amount that the Company A needs to save annually at the minimum from using this energy-saving workstation to justify the investment under the given financial condition. Okay, that wraps up our learning of the annual equivalence analysis. There are 2 more to come. See you in the next part. Bye-bye.